What is up, guys? So, Outlast 2 is done on the channel, but I have noticed a lot of comments on my playthrough of people like, wait, what just happened? Like, I don't like this game because I don't understand the story. That was rubbish. That was terrible. I prefer the first game. And I have decided to put some of my good knowledge to use, and I want to go over the story with you guys. Now, there is a lot that is still unexplained, but I'm going to do my best to go through what we know, and also I'd like you guys to get involved in the comment section as well. So if there's any information that I miss out or anything you want to add, then yeah, meet me in the comments. So let's start from the very beginning, and let's start with the light in the sky.
Oh! We lost the engine! Fuck! Fuck!
So at the very start of Outlast 2, a bright light crashes your helicopter. Now, we actually find out during the game that that bright light is coming from a radio tower, and it's sending off these strong microwave kind of signals that basically drives people crazy. It starts to control their mind. Now, this is all explained in the Old Traveler document, which you can see on screen just now. Now, there's a lot of people that were saying that the game didn't have anything to do with Outlast 1. Now, this actually shows that it does have something to do with Outlast 1 because of the name of the girl, Jenny. Now, Jenny was in the first Outlast game. She had her own notes, and she actually wanted out of the entire project, and you find out that she likely resigned and went to another Murkoff facility with the rest of the female employees because of the effects. Now I'm going to try and pronounce this. The morphogenic engine. Now that is to do with the first Outlast game, which actually had a very negative effect on the females, which also was to do with pregnancy, but we will get to pregnancy a little bit later on in the video. So this explains why, as you start going through the game of Outlast 2, that your main character Blake, you start to notice that he gets a little bit kind of cooey. He will start looking at his camera and he will start looking into what he has recorded, but then he starts talking about Jessica rather than Lynn.
He said she did it to herself. He said he was protecting you.
Now, this is because as he is going forward, he's having all these hallucinations. He is blacking out constantly, which is putting him back in time. And he has a lot of guilt in regards to what happened to Jessica. And a very cool thing about this, there was a lot of people asking, who is it that is chasing you when you were in the dream sequence? Now, obviously, we find out at the end what happened to Jessica, and it is very tragic, but we find out exactly who is behind it all too. So, at the end, we find out that it's Father Lotter Mitch. I'm gonna try and pronounce that. I'm not sure if it's Lotter Milch or Mitch or whatever, but if you look closely, he has a scar above his right eye, and so does the monster that chases you. So obviously when you are hallucinating, I guess in a way you're hallucinating what you see him as, which is a horrible, disgusting monster for what he did to Jessica. Now I find it interesting, in my opinion, he killed Jessica. Now this is opinion based. The reason I think that is because when you find Jessica on the stairs, her neck looks like it's completely snapped. Obviously Blake cries, and then suddenly she's hanging herself afterwards. I don't think that's right. I think that he hung Jessica, and then obviously there is comments that he makes to Blake throughout the game where I honestly believe that Lottermitch tried to make it out to Blake that it's all his fault, which is why he has this guilt. But obviously Blake knows that there was nothing he could have done differently. It wasn't his fault. But because he's having all these hallucinations and it is bringing him back, it's like he's living the nightmare over and over again, which is really tragic. So yeah, I don't think Jessica hung herself. I think that she was killed on the stairs, and the father actually put her with the rope, and that's how she died. But I'd like to know what you guys think about that, if you think that she actually did commit suicide after that. I just don't think that makes any sense. So let's talk about some of the characters in Outlast 2. So there's two sides to what is going on in this game. You have the Christians and you have the heretics. Now obviously the Christians is led by Noth. Now we find out a lot about Noth throughout a lot of the messages that are left lying around, but also a lot of the people that you come across in the game are talking about Noth and how they are like preaching to him, how they follow him religiously.
For even redemption cannot be hid from the spirit. We are robed in the crimson glory of revelation.
But Noth was a pretty messed up guy. He was completely messed up, and he killed a lot of children because that's what he believed was going to cleanse everything that is going on. Now, we meet early on Val. And by the way, Val is a boy, not a girl. There was a lot of speculation that Val was actually a girl. But in one of the files, I think it's number 7, we actually find out that Val is a boy because he is referred to as a he in the letter. So why Val then starts acting like a female in the game, I have absolutely no idea. Val is quite rapey, I'm just gonna say it in that term, where Val rapes people, and he himself is a pretty disgusting character. Now, Val, in Noth's words, betrays him and creates the mines underground, where that's where all the heretics hang out, that's where they discuss what they're gonna do. And they wanted to get revenge on Noth because they disagreed with the fact that obviously he was killing all the babies. So they have their own things that are going on here, and you end up sort of just caught in the middle of all of this, and neither of them are good. They both have their bad sides. They're both just as crazy as each other. So at the end of the game, even though we are running away from Val in the mines, Val wants Lynn to have this baby. I say baby in brackets because that's a whole other subject that we need to get to. And obviously we see Blake going towards Lynn, and Lynn is being praised by all the heretics at the side. It's a very strange situation. And we see that, you know, she's technically unharmed because they want her to have this child, whereas Noth, on the other hand, wants to just kill them. The other messed up thing about that scene is obviously Val, again, is seen to be raping Blake in front of Lynn in that cutscene. And yeah, that's a little bit weird. So other characters to talk about. We have Marta. Now, in my opinion, Marta was like one of the scariest characters in this game. Every time I ran into her, I just felt like I was gonna die. She just absolutely terrified me. But one of the things to consider as well is that she was being used by Noth. Now, there's a lot of letters from Noth to her stating that she was his beloved, but he was also manipulating her because he got her to believe that obviously killing Lynn and killing Blake and the child was the right thing to do, and not to stop and not to listen to anybody else's judgment, just to go out there and to murder. And she essentially was Noth's right-hand man. But in a way, I almost feel sorry for her. I almost feel like she was being used. And there was no reason for it because it's not as if Noth has never killed himself. Obviously, Marta meets to a pretty nasty end at the end of the game, but overall, I do have a little bit of empathy for her because she is so hell-bent on just killing them, and that is at Noth's order. Just kind of a shame. The other main characters that we have in the game is Laird and Nick. Now, Nick, I don't even know what you would call Nick other than the big fat thing that Laird sits on. And Laird is the one that's firing the arrows at you. And we see in one of the files that Noth actually feeds crickets to Nick, which it's kind of odd because obviously Noth himself is this crazy guy and he murders people, but he clearly cares about his right-hand men, i.e. Marta, Laird, and Nick. And obviously they are doing the exact same job as Marta, where they are just chasing you down just to kill you, but unfortunately they meet their demise, kind of at the fault of their own people, actually, when you are lowering the ropes to go down, and unfortunately they meet their doom as well. Now, obviously, the game was revolving around a character called Jane Doe. That's why Lynn and Blake were deciding to go there in the first place. And we come across her dad, Ethan. Now, I don't have an explanation for Ethan because Ethan seems to be unaffected by everything that is going on. Like, everybody else is crazy around him. yet he doesn't seem to be crazy, and why he is unaffected from the microwave signals, I have absolutely no idea, and I would love to hear some people's theories on Ethan. So let's fast forward to the end of the game when things start to get a little bit confusing, and this is what people are talking about at the moment. So obviously by the end of the game, Blake is dually. When he finally meets up with Lynn again, he does a recording when he comes out, and rather than talking about getting Lynn free, he talks about Jessica and the snow falling, and they need to find a grown-up. So at that point, we can see that he has completely lost it, because he is saying that in real time, and he's living in the past, unfortunately. Makes me wonder if Jessica had survived, if he would have ended up with Jessica come the end. Obviously, Jessica loved Blake. Blake liked Lynn. It's like the tragic little awkward three story, and I think Blake has a lot of guilt because of that. But anyway, fast forwarding towards the end of the game, obviously Lynn is pregnant. Now, we know for a fact that there's no way that Lynn could have been pregnant because it states at the start of the game that, let's just bluntly put it out there, Lynn and Blake have not had sex in months. So unless she's cheated and it's not his baby, then I don't think personally that she was pregnant. Now, this goes back to the story in Outlast 1 as to why they moved all the females from that ward, because what they were doing in Outlast 1 was having a negative effect on all the females, and it was making them believe that they were pregnant, but it was all phantom pregnancies, which is why they moved all the women out of Outlast 1. So part of me believes that obviously because we are connected to Outlast 1 with the waves, the microwaves, as I'm just gonna call them, I'm not sure what the actual word is, I think that Lynn started to go a bit crazy too, and she believed that she was pregnant. Now, there's a lot of theories flying around here about Outlast 2, because obviously at the end, Blake sees what he thinks Lynn to be giving birth. But shortly after, Lynn dies, and she says, "There's nothing there." That's her last words.
There's nothing there.
Oh, Jesus God!
Also, there was no umbilical cord. I always say that word wrong. So there was no cord to suggest that the baby was obviously attached. So how did Lynn die? If there was no baby that she gave birth to, how did she die? There was a few people actually saying that they thought that maybe Blake was like killing her in his madness, and that's why she died. I don't think that's true. The other theory is people are saying that there's nothing there means that right before she dies, she sees that there's no afterlife. Because obviously they went to a Christian school, they believe in the afterlife, and they say that Lynn didn't see anything there. But I think, in my own opinion, this relates a little bit more to the pregnancy more than the afterlife. So obviously after that, Noth says, "Is that the baby?" So Noth can see the baby, Blake can see the baby, Lynn said there's nothing there, and I just think that obviously Noth and Blake have absolutely lost it by this point, and they are hallucinating like crazy. So obviously Noth goes ahead and takes his own life because he believes that he has failed, because he didn't want any children in this world, and obviously he's been killing all these kids, but this one's been born. So Noth takes his own life and Blake leaves, only to see that everybody is dead outside. Now again, there was speculation that Noth actually killed everybody before he got into the chapel, but I think that something else happened. I think that maybe Noth had stated to the people outside that he had failed, and they had a mass suicide. That's what I think has happened there. And then obviously Noth went into the chapel and killed himself. Now, at the very end, Blake goes outside, the light consumes us once more, and he hallucinates again. I nearly said he salutes. It's a little bit weird. He hallucinates again and sees Jessica. Now, something interesting about this, in your second playthrough, you don't see the lines or the markings on Jessica. I don't know what that means. I don't know if any of you guys have run through it a second time and seen this, but that's a little bit strange. There was a crazy theory that somebody said that someone like just nuked the entire place, which is what the final light was. Now, I don't know if I believe that because I don't have any evidence to go on that. I think that's a little bit far-fetched. A lot of what went on in this game was just major hallucinations, and I think it's just very important to realize that it was all the brainwashing, again, coming from the Murkoff Corporation from Outlast 1, and I think that's why a lot of people are getting confused, because they don't understand that Blake is actually losing his mind, and a lot of what he sees is not actually there. It has that effect on the men. It causes the women to believe that they are pregnant, but it's phantom pregnancy, and all of that makes so much more sense now that I have finally dug out all the letters and actually seen for myself what a lot of it means. So it does all connect up in the end. It really does. Now, of course, there is a lot of other things that happened in this game, but I just kind of wanted to cover a lot of the main reasons for why the game ended the way it did. But if you have anything that you want to add in regards to the story of this game, then please leave it in the comment section below, because I would love to read it. I'm kind of fascinated by the story of Outlast 2. But for you guys, I hope this video has helped tie up some of those loose ends, and I hope you have enjoyed. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.